As a content creator, I've been wanting to do some automations of various parts of my content business. And to do those automations, I'm going to be using N8N. So today I'm going to show you how to install N8N on Docker. Let's get into it. The first thing you need to do is make sure you have a host. So I have videos that show you how to set up a Raspberry Pi. You can do this on that. I have videos show you how to install Proxmox on a bigger server, a bigger machine, and then you can install Ubuntu on that or whatever your Linux distribution of choice is. And you got to have Docker, obviously, because we're going to install it on Docker. I'll be using Portainer as well for some of the management of it. We're going to be using Docker Compose for all of this. And I'll be putting all the Docker Compose config files down in the description below, so you don't have to worry about trying to, pause and type everything out. I'll put it in the description below for you. And then once you have all of that set up, you need to have a way to get into that server. You're going to need to SSH into your server via your favorite terminal software. And we're not going to cover how to do that. Those are in different videos that I have on the channel. So we're going to get right into SSH'd already into our box so we can get installing. We need to create a directory where N8N is going to run. So I'm going to put my stuff in opt. So go cd opt, and then I'm going to go in stacks. I already have that made. You can see I have a couple stacks in there. I'm going to create a new folder. We're going to call this one N8N. We'll call it Vista Lab. So we'll go make dir N8N / Vista Lab. And then what we need to do is we need to make sure our Docker container has access to everything within that folder. So we need to do a change ownership command. So we'll go sudo own, and then we're going to do 1000. Do -r, and then I know I don't have to do the whole path. I just like to, because I do. Stacks / N8N dash, we'll do tab, so it'll do it all for us. That is done. Next up, we need to make our Docker Compose and our environment file. Here's our Docker Compose file, and what we're going to do is we'll go through this. I will also put this code in the description below to make it easier for you. But we're going to do N8N. We're going to do just kind of the latest version. It's going to pull. Restart as always. The port's 5678. So this is the port right here that is on the host system. And then this is the port in the Docker container it's mapped to. So if you don't want it to be 5678, you can change that there. For this one, we're leaving it default. We're going to use an environment file. So we'll just do .env. We're going to create a couple of volumes that need to be mapped. So we'll do a data, and then we'll do files. Again, these are going to be what's local on the system. And then these are what is inside the Docker container. And then depends on Postgres, which is going to be our database. If you are going to use something else besides Postgres, comment or remove all the stuff down here. I'm just going to use Postgres. And requires the image, restarts always, also the environment file, and then where that data is going. So we got that all created. We need to make an environment file. So we'll go over here, .env. Again, I'll put this down in the description. But we have our domain name. So whatever your domain name is going to be that you assign to this, your subdomain, N8N, whatever, your time zone. So make sure you have this correct, because if you do anything scheduled, you're going to have to, you want it to be scheduled probably on your local time. So you need to make sure you are getting your correct time zone. You can just Google Linux time zones. You'll find a whole bunch of them on Wikipedia. Our host name. So, it's basically going to be your subdomain plus your domain. And then the protocol, HTTPS, our webhook URL. Again, it's probably going to be, what your host name is, but you can always change this to something else if you want. The secure cookie, by default, it's set to true. You can set it to false, but since we're going to end up doing some reverse proxy action here, and we're going to leave this commented out, you want production as your node environment. And then down here under Postgres, you want to put the database name. So whatever you're going to name the database, your user. So this is going to be, whatever the admin account to log in or access that Postgres server. So, and then your Postgres password. Obviously, change these. Don't leave them default here. And then change, your stuff up here. So go ahead and make those changes, and then we will come on back and get those entered into our system. Back here, SSH into our server, we need to do one more thing before we can, do some other stuff. And we'll do it now so we don't forget. But let's go into our folder. So we'll go cd N8N. And then we need to create our Docker Compose file. So I use Nano. And now I can just do compose, but I like to do the whole thing. We'll take the code that we created, that Docker Compose file, and we'll paste it in here. And then if we look up top here, we have everything all set correctly. So we'll go ahead and save that. We need to create our environment file. So we'll go nano.env. We'll copy all the info we had there. We'll paste it. We'll save. Okay, we have our Docker Compose file. That's good. And now we need to create a couple of folders. So if we go back and look at our Docker Compose, we need to create a data folder, a files folder, and a Postgres data folder. So we'll go ahead and make those. So we'll do make dir data, make dir files, and then make dir postgres dash data. Cool. Now the fun part, we'll take a look and just make sure, yep, we have everything. Now we're going to go ahead and run our Docker Compose file, and it should get us installing, and we'll get going. So the way we do that is we go Docker Compose up -d. And here it goes. It downloaded, got everything installed, made us our containers. Now, if we go over into Portainer, it's what I use for my Docker stuff, we can see that we have these two right here. We have N8N at Vista Lab, N8N1, and then we have N8N at Vista Lab Postgres. So I have actually a couple of versions of N8N running, but this one, these two right here are what we just installed. And I'm actually going to rename these real quick so I can make sure I have everything remembered. And then we'll rename this one. And something to note here, if you're in here and for some reason your container is not, publishing the ports, it's not working, as you can see, let me refresh this right here. You see how this one, a Vista Lab N8N, we don't have any ports, published ports right here. That's most likely due to a security issue. So if we go into its logs here, and we'll undo auto refresh, you can see right here, access permission denied on the config file. And that is because I did the change ownership wrong. So we need to go back and do the change ownership, or set the commands correct to give permissions to that folder. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead to the container, and let's go ahead and stop both of these containers so we can run some magic here. Now we'll go back into our SSH or our terminal, and one more time, let's do this correctly. So sudo chown -r, and then it's going to be opt/stacks/ N8N Vista Lab. Okay, so that should have done it that time. We'll go and go back to our Portainer. Let's go ahead and start both of these up. You can see here, we have the ports. Let's see if it remains there. Again, if there's a security issue, it can't access that folder. You'll lose your ports, and Portainer will say it's running, but really it's like in a constant boot loop. So just kind of pay attention to that. I think that probably did it. Let's go ahead and look at our logs. And sure enough, you can see it now loaded everything. We're good to go there. Now what we can do is, like it says here, we can now go to our site and it should be accessible. So the way you do that is you go to whatever the IP address of your host is. So if it's locally, you can go localhost and then exclamation 5678, or you can go to the IP address :5678. So go ahead and open that up in your web browser and go to that site. If you come across this issue trying to access your server where it says it's configured to use a secure cookie, that is because you're trying to access it without doing your domain. And we set up that, secure cookie is true. You have two options here. You can go back and set the secure cookie to false, restart the server. You should be good to go. Or you can go into your proxy manager if you have one. I'm running Nginx proxy manager, and I'm going to go ahead and set a reverse proxy for this and see if this works for us. So I'm going to add host, and I'm going to go N8N.vistalab.com. Leave that. We're going to forward to whatever our IP address is for your host, and then the port number. So it's 5678. Block common. I might do web hooks. And then over on SSL, we're going to go for the Let's Encrypt certificate for this web domain. If you haven't done any of this, check out my video on how to install Nginx Proxy Manager and do SSL certs. We're going to force SSL, and then we'll go save. Now, if we do go to our domain, you can see, yay, it works. We don't get that error. Now your next thing is you need to create your account. So go ahead and type in your email, your name, your last name, your password, and then click next. I think you have like 10 minutes after the server starts to do this. So enter that information and then click next. When you get logged in, you can click, choose whatever all this stuff is best for your brand, and then click get started. I'm going to show you one more trick after we do this on how to get a license for free. When you get to this screen, definitely do it. You'll get the free activation key to get some advanced features. So workflow history, advanced debugging, execution, search and tagging, folders, organize your workflows and nested folder structure. This is a big one. You want that because your workflows can get pretty confusing, and a lot of if you do a lot of them, can get quite messy. So put in your email address there, and then you'll click the send me a free key license. And there you go. That is how you install N8N on Docker. I did this through a virtual private server from our friends over at Velox Media. I'll put a link in the description below of where you can get your own VPS. They have some amazing pricing. You definitely want to check them out for your remote server access. That was a fun one. I can't wait to get into N8N and start making some automations. So as I said earlier, all of the commands and everything is in the description below. So go down there, take a look for everything for your Docker Compose files. Thank you to Velox Media for supplying the server for us. They're the GOAT. Make sure you check them out. Link in the description below. And make sure you're following the channel because we're going to start doing some more automation videos on how we can automate some of our, parts of our content creation business. So if there are any automations you'd like to see, let me know in the comments below. That way I can kind of take a look and see if it's going to fit for this video series. So once again, make sure you're following so you can keep track of that video series. And if you don't have a system to put this on, check out Velox Media, link in the description below, or you can do this on a Raspberry Pi, and I'll put all the parts to the Raspberry Pis that I use down in the description below. Until next time, stay safe, have fun, and keep doing good.